Hey everyone, I'm Linda Moon, Director of Grow Kids Curriculum, and I'm here to talk to you about our spring discipleship activity and event from Grow Kids Volume 8. For the next few minutes, you'll get a big picture overview of what you can expect with both of these resources, along with some helpful tips we don't want you to miss. First, let's take a look at the Grow with God experience, which is Grow's discipleship activity for the spring quarter. The Grow discipleship strategy is built around four spiritual habits: spend time with God, spend time with others, use your gifts, and share your story. And if you've been using Grow for a while, you know that every spring we focus on the spiritual habit of spending time with God because with Easter being in the season, it's the perfect time to talk to kids about who Jesus is and how they can grow in their relationship with Him. And that's really what this entire discipleship activity is all about: growing with God. So, what is it? The Grow with God experience is a pretend garden walk, or a real garden walk if you have a garden on campus, where kids get to think more deeply about the Easter story. So, how do we do this activity? At each station, kids get to spend some time with a scripture passage and engage in an activity and discussion. It's very simple and it has a gardening theme, which is super cool. So, let me walk you through a few of the stations that the kids are going to come across. At station one, they will be doing a picnic where they can talk about Passover and how Jesus had gathered with his friends during the Last Supper. Then we have preparing the soil, where they get to fill pots with soil, talk about Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and how Jesus prepared for what came next. And then we get to the station where they're composting. And you don't have to use every single material that is listed here. Use whatever feels most comfortable to you. And maybe if you have a composting expert in your ministry, you can maybe bring them in to help you with this part. But basically, they're making a compost mixture and they can discuss how Jesus was also broken down and torn up to make way for something new. So this is as they reflect on the passage of his arrest and crucifixion. Then we go on to the planting station where they are going to be filling the pots that they were filling with soil earlier, and they're going to plant seeds in them and compare that to how Jesus's body was also buried in the tomb. And then finally, they're going to come to the blooming station where you're going to, since the plants aren't going to grow immediately, you're going to prepare fully grown plants and trade it in for their seeded plant pots. And then you can discuss the resurrection and celebrate with fun treats. And don't skip on the celebrating part because you could do so much fun stuff with this theme. You can host a full-on garden party and bring in a host of springtime activities as part of this grand finale. Okay, so now that you know what this discipleship activity is all about, here are a few tips on how to make the most of this resource. Number one, add a preschool corner. While this activity is geared more for elementary age kids, if you have preschoolers in the mix, they can be included too. You can set up a whole separate garden playroom if you have the space, or if you are setting up stations around the perimeter of your space, you can set up the middle to be a mini garden where preschoolers can play. You can provide bubbles, springtime crafts, sensory sand or dirt bins, and board books, and then station a few leaders there that can entertain them and play with them. This way, their parents and older siblings can keep an eye on them as they go through the stations. Tip number two, make it a self-guided garden walk. Now, this might be a good option if you want this to feel like a museum exhibit that kids and families can go through at their own pace, where you set it up maybe for like an entire day and people can come whenever they'd like. So, same thing, you would position the stations at the perimeter of your space or maybe door to door, depending on what your ministry setup looks like, and have the supplies that they need there. And then you can have a little QR code that they can scan where they can get video instructions and maybe even the scripture reading is included there. And then you can even pass out stickers or stamps that they can collect at each station. And once they go through all of the stations, they can trade it in for a small Easter or a gardening themed treat. That might be super fun to do. So check that out. Tip number three, connect this discipleship activity to the series Full Bloom. If you're a Grow user, the theme and the teaching content of this activity complement our suggested teaching series for April called Full Bloom. So you can set up the Grow with God experience as a kickoff or a wrap up to the series, or even break it up into small weekly extension activities leading up to Easter. And this is a great thing to do during the Lenten season. In addition to a discipleship activity each quarter aligned with one of the four spiritual habits, Grow also provides a just for fun event that you can roll out in your ministry for outreach and fellowship purposes. This spring, bring out all your egg puns because Grow Kids is bringing you the Egg-cellent Easter Scramble. Basically, Easter eggs everywhere. Super exciting, right? So, how does it work? You will need a large space where you can set up multiple stations, or you can have people travel from room to room, depending on what your ministry setup is. And kids can travel to different stations to participate in games or crafts. And this is a fun little bonus tip. Provide paper gift bags with handles so that kids can easily sling it through their arm and tote it around from station to station and collect their prizes and crafts. We've tried plastic bags in our ministry and they just are not great. So having that handle and making it somewhat hands-free for them to do other things would be great. And also put their names on it because bags do get lost. And here are some of the super fun stations that awaits them at the Egg-cellent Easter Scramble. So one station is called Peat Bowling, which you might have guessed involves marshmallow peeps, and you knock over plastic eggs using the marshmallow peeps. Never was there a greater use for these disgusting treats, and don't hate me if you love it, but I think they're gross. Another one is the unexpected game, and this can be a fun upfront game to kick off the whole event if you'd like. So basically, there's going to be plastic eggs with mystery substances inside, and two people come up to the front and they have to crack the eggs open over their heads to figure out what's inside. Yes, it will be messy, but that's part of the fun. So prepare your ponchos and get people involved because this is always a fun spectacle to watch. And they can also do crafts because there are a bunch of craft stations like making egg shakers with plastic eggs and spoons, or doing crushed eggshell art, which is super fancy. And for the science nerds out there, we can do the Easter egg drop where they do that classic science experiment trying to protect an egg from cracking. And this one I think is super cool. It's the extraordinary succulents where kids get to make planters out of jumbo plastic eggs. I think it's really neat. So all the egg things are in this event. So check them all out in your event guide. And if you look, we've also provided a suggested schedule and volunteer roles, all these resources that will help you successfully plan your event and gauge how much help you need. And make sure you check out that event resources folder for more detailed instructions on how to run each game, ideas on how to decorate your space, what kind of food you want to serve if you are going to be serving food, and suggestions for prizes and giveaways as well. And now here are a few tips on how to make this event extra, get it? Extra awesome. Okay. Number one, ask for donations. I know sometimes it's really hard to do that, but feel free to invite church members to bring a dozen plastic eggs or a dozen hard-boiled eggs for the cause, because this will be really hard to do on your own or even taxing your staff members to do it. So getting church members involved in this very low-key way is going to be great for them to feel involved, and also great for you because you have less prep to do and less resources to buy all by yourself. Secondly, make it a breakfast event. I mean, it doesn't have to be morning, but invite people to come in pajamas and serve breakfast foods. And because it's called the Egg-cellent Easter Scramble, don't forget the scrambled eggs station. You're welcome. And number three, add an egg hunt. If the egg hunt is a tradition you can't skip in your church, and I get it because our kids look forward to this every year as well, find a way to fold it into this event. It's totally on theme. It'll just be another station or maybe another part of your campus. Or if you want to do it in a more budget friendly way, you can put up paper Easter eggs all around your event space and invite kids to locate all the hidden Easter eggs, like literal Easter eggs, for a small prize. So kind of do it like how Disney does their hidden Mickeys. You can do that with Easter eggs, and that would be really fun. And that is a quick look at the discipleship and events from Grow Kids for this spring. You know, we love hearing from you and seeing what you do. So please don't forget to tag us in your photos on Instagram at Stuff You Can Use, and drop by our Facebook group. You can search for Stuff You Can Use, a children's ministry community, and look for us there. Hoping you all have the most wonderful Easter season. Bye.